The labor market is real interesting of late. The unemployment numbers are at the lowest level since 1968. But the job market is contending with a severe worker shortage. Workers' wages are increasing, but many aren't settling for business as usual by forming unions. And even in that arena, the victories are tempered. 1 week after Amazon employees in New York City voted to form a union, the company is trying to get the votes thrown out, arguing the union victory was the result of coercion. This week, I sat down with Labor Secretary Marty Walsh to talk about the current state of the workforce. Secretary Walsh, thank you for coming to the Sunday Show.
Thanks for having me today.
So, wages are up, unemployment is down, job creation is way, way up. But there aren't enough workers for the jobs that are out there. Why?
Well, I think this is a problem that happened long before today, certainly before the pandemic as well. I think the pandemic had us look at what's happening in the economy in a different way. When millions of Americans lost their job because of the beginning days of the pandemic and people shut businesses down. I think that this problem hasn't been talked about pre-pandemic, and I think that it just put a big spotlight on it. And we have work to do. We still have Americans that are out there that can take some of these jobs, but overall, the long term of the country, long term of our economy, long term of the job market, we need to find more workers, quite honestly. And a lot of that, it will have to be, whether it's getting kids that are coming out of high school, going to college, not going to college, get them into pathways of good careers, but also immigration.
One of the catchphrases in the pandemic era in terms of people leaving their jobs is the quote-unquote Great Recession. You don't like that phrase.
No, because it's not a recession. It's not a resignation. It's when you think about it's people looking to see where they are in their career. A lot of people over the last couple of years have had a lot of time to think about their life and where they are, and working 3 and 4 and 5 jobs, not having flexibility in their schedule. All of these different things that people have the ability now to look for better jobs, and I think that that's our responsibility here at the Department of Labor, per the president, to make sure that we have good workforce development programs and training programs, that people who want to access better jobs that are open today, that we have them prepared for those jobs.
I think I just said Great Recession, and you were right to correct me, Great Resignation. Yeah. But you call it the Great Reassessment. Why do you think people decided that in the middle of a pandemic that was the time to take a step back and say, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm done with this.
I'm not going to give you a real fancy answer. A lot of it is, and I was thinking my own personal journey through the pandemic as the mayor of Boston, we had a lot of time to think. Our life slowed down. We were home at night at dinner, having dinner with our families. A lot of people were. We weren't going out. We weren't going to restaurants. We weren't going to bars. We weren't going to movie theaters. We weren't going to sporting events. And I think a lot of people were assessing where their life is. Are they happy with their work-life balance? Are they happy? I've talked to lots of companies and lots of people and lots of businesses all across America, and people are saying, wait a second, I have an opportunity to be better and to improve my place, if you will, or my work opportunity. So I think that had a lot to do with it, and I think the companies also are realizing now they're paying people more. They've raised their base wage to bring more people in. We saw some of the largest gains of salary in the restaurant industry. It's gone up between 11 and 13%, paying people more. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. But I bet there are folks who are listening to you right now and saying, yeah, wages are up, but so's inflation. Inflation's eating their wages.
The president laid out a plan last year to deal with the prices at the kitchen table and bring the costs down. Obviously, we also have a war in Ukraine happening now. We have Putin's gas price hikes that's going on, certainly with what we're dealing with in supply chain issues. We had supply chain issues before the war in Ukraine. It's a global inflation issue that we're dealing with. So, we are, though, as an administration, we're all doing our part to bring those costs down and bring inflation down. We haven't seen inflation like this in a long, long time in our country, certainly. And I'd love to say to you, by the next 6 months, it's going to come down. But unfortunately, it's not going to come down. We're seeing gas prices come down a bit, but we have work to do there on long term.
You are a card-carrying union member.
Yeah.
I would love to get your reaction to what appears to be not a top-down effort, but a grassroots-up effort at unionizing. MSNBC employees formed a union. Amazon workers in Staten Island formed a union. Starbucks employees in Buffalo started a union. Your view of the union movement today?
Well, I think the labor movement has a real, unique, big opportunity right now to continue the momentum of organizing all across America. President Biden's been very clear that he supports people's right to collectively bargain, supports people's rights to freely join a union. I think you're seeing that. But you're also seeing individually around the country, over the after last year, we talked about this, the great resignation, people leaving their job, people looking for better opportunities, people demanding higher wages. We're seeing it individually around the United States and different companies around America. And that's exactly what the union labor movement does. It takes the power of individuals to put them collectively together to push for collective growth in different industries. And that's what we're seeing with the labor movement in this country. We're seeing the opportunity right now for people saying, wait a second, we want to be able to work in a job, have one job, have health care, have a pension benefit, have good wages, have worker protections, have inflex schedules and things like that, that even unions are going to have to think about that as well. How do you work with companies where you have the kind of innovation in a company, the flexibility and the, all of the things that employees are looking for today? And I think unions are looking at that as well as far as when they think about collective bargaining.
And one of the things you said in your initial answer in this interview, you ended on saying immigration. And I'm not gonna let that slide. The role of immigration. It
was intentional.
Well, then talk about immigration and the role it plays or isn't playing in the labor shortage that the country is.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I go around the country and I talk to business leaders all the time, and I ask them the question about immigration, and every single person says to me, we need immigration reform in this country. And when you think about where we are, we have 13 million people in this country right now that are undocumented. We need to create a pathway for citizenship, number one. Number two, we have college universities all across America that educate people from other countries, and when they get their degree, they either go up to Canada and work in Canada or they go back home. We're losing that knowledge, that brain power in the United States. Our country has always had strong immigration in our country, and that's what kept us ticking all these years, along with Americans working collectively together. And I think that this is the time we have an opportunity. The president filed a bill on immigration reform. If we want to take our work seriously, if we want to take the workplace seriously, and we want to help businesses, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or wherever you stand, we need to have a comprehensive immigration reform bill here in the United States.
Does Congress have the political will to do that?
I don't know if they do or not, but that's why I talk to businesses. Talk to your businesses in your communities and ask them if they need workers.
The president announced this week yet another moratorium on student loan repayments. Yeah. Can you talk about the impact that has on workers?
Well, it certainly has a big impact. I mean, I think especially now, as you think about moving forward, allows workers to have a little more money in their pocket as we move forward here. I think there's some good things come out of the pandemic. Number one, it's made us here at the Department of Labor look at the way we do grants and making sure pre-apprentice programs and creating better pathways for people looking for better jobs. It allows us the opportunity to look at the workplace a little differently and how do we move our workplaces forward. We're looking at the future of work here at the Department of Labor. And when I say the future of work, I'm not talking about technology. I'm talking about tomorrow. You asked me about the worker shortage. It was here the day before the pandemic. We just didn't talk about it. I mean, there was a worker shortage the day before the pandemic. So we just have, because unemployment was low, and now we're at 3.6%, nearly as low as the beginning of the pandemic, and we have a worker shortage today. We had a worker shortage then, too, but we didn't talk about it.
Marty Walsh, the 29th Secretary of Labor, thank you for coming to the Sunday show. Also, it's April 10th.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. One more day closer to retirement.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.